Thank you so much. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vrajachanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajachanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Pala Nisima Jaya Nisima Dev Jaya Pala Nisima Jaya Nisima Dev Jaya Lakshmi Nisima Lakshmi Nisima Lakshmi Nisima Jaya Lakshmi Nisima Nitai Gora Haribol, 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 Nitai Gora Haribol. Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 23, verse 52. Devahutis Lamentation, that's also the verse that's on there. Good. Pramanduhi tribistubhyam Vimrikya pataya samaha Kaschit Syanmi Vishokaya Tvai Pravrajite Vanam Pramanduritri Vimrikya Pataya Samaha Kaschit Janme Vishokaya Tvai Pravrajite Vanam Pramanduhitri Bistubhyam Vimrikya Pataya Samaha Kaschit Janme Vishokaya Tvai Pravrajite Vanam Vaishnavis. Okay. Brahman, my dear Brahmana, Duhitribihi, by the daughters them. Oh, sorry, by the daughters themselves. Tubhyam, for you. Vimrikyaha, to be found out. Patayaha, husbands. Samaha, suitable. Kaschit, someone. Syat, there should be. Me, my. Vishokaya, for solace. Tvai, when you. Pravrajite, departed. Vanam, to the forest. Translation. My dear Brahmana, as far as your daughters are concerned, they will find their own suitable husbands and go away to their respective homes. But who will give me solace after your departure as a sannyasi? Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It is said that the father himself becomes the son in another form. The father and son are therefore considered to be non-different. A widow who has her son is actually not a widow because she has the representative of her husband. Similarly, Devahuti is indirectly asking Kadama Muni to leave a representative so that in his absence she might be relieved of her anxieties by a suitable son. A householder is not expected to remain at home for all his days. After getting his sons and daughters married, a householder can retire from household, leaving his wife in the charge of the grown-up sons. That is the social convention of the Vedic system. Devahuti is indirectly asking that in his absence from home there be at least one male child to give her relief from her anxieties. This relief means spiritual instruction. Relief does not mean material comforts. Material comforts will end with the end of the body, but spiritual instruction will not end. It will go on and with the spirit soul. Instruction in spiritual advancement is necessary, but without having a worthy son, how could Devahuti advance in spiritual knowledge? It is the duty of the husband to liquidate his debt to his wife. The wife gives her sincere service to the husband, and he becomes indebted to her because one cannot accept service from a subordinate without giving him something in exchange. The spiritual master cannot accept service from a disciple without rewarding him spiritual instruction. That is the reciprocation of love and duty. Thus Devahuti reminds her husband Kadama Muni that she has rendered him faithful service. Even considering the situation on the basis of liquidating his debt toward his wife, he must give a male child before he leaves. Indirectly, Devahuti requests her husband to remain at home a few more days more, or at least until a male child is born. Omakyanti mirandasya kinanjana shalakaya shakshu unmilitam yena tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in the beginning, I just ask for your blessing so I can say something that is relevant, uplifting, and inspiring. I'm not qualified to give class, but I'm trying here to serve you. So there are 7 major points in this purport, and each of those points could probably be an entire book in itself. So the first point that Prabhupada makes here is that the father and son are non-different. The second point is the son replaces the husband in case of the father dies or takes sannyas. Then the point that a householder is not expected to be home all his life. So we are talking about vanaprastha. Then this point of relief from anxiety through spiritual instructions, not through material comforts. And anxiety really relates to fear and what we can do about it. And then the 5th point is material comfort versus spiritual comfort, and the duty of the husband, how he's indebted towards his wife is another point, and then the 7th point is love and duty. So there are many, many points in this purport, and we can, probably not touch upon all of these points, but they're all connected very much to this pastime, where we have to understand that Devahuti is not an ordinary woman. Not only is she a princess, but she's also someone who is practicing the Eightfold Yoga system, which is mentioned in the beginning of, I believe, the 22nd or 21st chapter. So she is a yogini. She is very much inclined towards spirituality, which is why she's choosing Kadamba Muni, and both of them are aware of the instruction of Lord Brahma to progenate, to populate this planet. So they really come together as a service, which is why also Srila Prabhupada mentions that hearing about this pastime is very purifying, because it's a specific purpose here, a specific service. It's not that they just came together to have a good time. I mean, probably Devahuti would have chosen another husband then. Living in an ashram so austere is very, very difficult. But she chose Kadamba Muni, and they had the specific service of populating the planet. So hearing about this is very much purifying. And now we're in this situation where Devahuti is lamenting. But again, she's not lamenting because she sees that her husband is going and they cannot fly anymore in their mansion throughout the universe. She's lamenting because she understands that, they spend so much time engaging in sense gratification, not really in sense gratification actually. They engaged in sex life to have children that were meant to be given to the rishis. Therefore, they had 9 daughters. And now she's lamenting that she didn't really took advantage of hearing from Kadamba Muni about spiritual instructions. And she knows that he's a very, very elevated soul. So she regrets that she didn't take advantage of that and, took shelter of him in this way. Although she did. Otherwise, she wouldn't be in the state of consciousness in which she is right now, where she is about to receive the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And to receive spiritual instructions, she's asking for a son. She's not asking for a son because she wants to feel materially more secure. In fact, there is no way to feel security in your life with more material comforts. This is something I experience on a daily basis, where the underlying reason why people have so many issues, why people struggle with mental health, or why we as devotees don't move forward, it's connected to fear ultimately. And this fear can only be removed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, Narasimhadev is especially incarnated to protect his devotees and to remove all fear. So we are really at the right place. And Prabhupada really writes here that father and son are non-different. How is that? Because, the father is obviously much older, much more experienced, and the son is, we believe, in a different category. But the point here is that women are meant to always be under protection. That is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. It's mentioned when women are not taken care of, then society basically falls apart. This is what we can see today. Today we have a culture in the world where women are very much encouraged to step into their masculine energy. And actually what happens is they get more and more exploited. And this is a result of not taking care of women in the past. Men have abused their right as protectors, as caretakers. Now we have karmic consequences where women, first of all, don't feel comfortable anymore to just be woman. In fact, in America, if you call someone mother, they might be sincerely offended. And we see that there is, a whole movement going on around that, because women have experienced pain and abuse in the past. Men just took advantage of their position as being superior in so many cultures presented. And then as a consequence, because they didn't take care of that, that's the situation we're in right now. But it's not good for women to be not under any protection. And not under protection means that they don't have the room and the space and the care they need to be in their feminine energy. Feminine energy means that I take care of others, I nourish others, I'm in touch with my feelings. I have the ability to love and to give love to others. I don't have to worry about how I maintain myself. I don't have to worry about where I have to live. I don't need to have such anxieties. That is to be taken on by the man. He takes on those anxieties, so the woman can just focus on her female duties in the household. So she can focus on being a mother, so she can focus on her spiritual development, and she can focus on nourishing the family and nourishing society. And if she is engaged in a career, a woman is supposed to do that as an activity of joy. You know, when a woman engages in a career and she has to push herself and she has to take on a lot of responsibility and anxiety, then naturally her capacity to nourish children, her capacity to share love and give love in the relationship life is not going to be taken care of. And it's going to actually destroy her physical and emotional body, you know. Therefore, it's so important that when a woman engages in a career, it's something that is connected with joy, something she likes to do, and the money she receives from that should also be given to her for her joy, for her facility. So this is something which modern culture doesn't understand, you know, because it's part of my profession. I speak all the time to women who are very successful in their career life, very successful, but they are very unhappy because they don't find a partner. Why don't they find a partner, and why do they struggle to build a family life? Well, because, you know, you can't have everything in life. You have to make a choice. And yes, sometimes we have very special women incarnating on this planet. They take more roles of responsibility and leadership, but that's rather the exception. And even those women, first of all, they usually, you know, take the role of being a mother before they move on to other responsibilities. And therefore, to facilitate that, you know, the woman needs a man, her father, her husband, her son, someone who ensures that she can be in a safe space where she is facilitated with material and spiritual and emotional nourishment, so she can engage nicely in her duties. Which is, yeah, as we can see, really not happening in our society right now. And we will see that this is going to become even worse in the future as part of Kali Yuga. Then the other point that is mentioned here is that a householder is not meant to stay home his entire life. Now, what does that mean for us devotees? Because traditionally, Vanaprastha would move into the forest. You know, we see even in Bhagavatam that the entire dynasty of Arjuna, of Yudhishthira Maharaj, they all, in the end, they all go in the forest. Okay, even kings, they had so much opulence, but in the end of their life, they go into the forest. They renounce. And they dress very simply, you know, it's with forest leaves and things. Now for us, it's a little bit different. We're not expected to move into the forest. We are expected to transition from focusing on maintaining our family and putting a lot of energy into that. You know, it takes a lot of energy to maintain a family, to raise up children, to take all of those responsibilities. But at some point, we have to make a step. Ideally, when you're around 50, of course, that means that you got married quite early. You're supposed to transition into a period where you are able to mainly focus on your spiritual life. That is what Vanaprastha means, that your attention is now mainly on your spiritual path, on becoming God conscious. And that means that wife and husband can stay together, they can preach, they can engage in service, but they're not focusing anymore so much, actually not at all in reality, to maintain themselves, but now they're taking fully shelter of the Lord. And then the higher varnas of Vaishya, Kshatriya, Brahmana were even supposed to take sannyas. But Vanaprastha is not optional in Vedic culture. It's not optional. Sannyas is optional. Vanaprastha is something wife and husband are meant to engage in as life goes on. This is part of the Vedic culture, and then they are meant to really take care of the younger devotees, of the younger people, engage in nourishing them, giving them spiritual instructions, and creating a nice spiritual culture. So that is the other point that is mentioned. Here we have Satya Yuga. So Kadama Muni is meditating. But Prabhupada mentions in the duration of this pastime, he is meditating to please Krishna. He's not meditating because he thinks that this is the best activity to do. No, in this age he knows the process is meditation. Therefore he engages in meditation to please Krishna. And Prabhupada mentions that he also engaged in other activities. So in the end he had actually the darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is very much part of the culture in Satya Yuga, which is why Kadama Muni then goes into the forest to take sannyas. He does that to be an example for people in general, not because he needs to do that to receive spiritual enlightenment. He is already a self-realized soul. He moves on to that stage to be an example and to really open the doors for the pastime that is about to happen with Kapila-dev. Now, that is, kind of the third point that Srila Prabhupada mentions here. And this culture, this Vedic culture is so refined, so special, that it's really meant to take care of everything. So you really start as a brahmachari in the Gurukul, and then you transition through the different ashrams, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. By the way, women were not meant to go to the Gurukul. And this is not because they are more fallen or less qualified. It's just when a woman is born, she is already perfect. When a man is born, he has basically nothing. A man has to become a man. He has to go through a lot of training, through a lot of instructions. He really has to prove himself. A woman just needs to be protected. Her feminine energy just needs to be protected. That's all you need to do. So there was no need for women to go to the Gurukul because they could receive all of that at home, associating with other women. So it's such a beautiful culture that is not very much understood, unfortunately. And then what is the idea? The idea is whatever you do, it's meant to bring you closer to Krishna. Whatever we engage in, whatever we do, the goal is always to bring us closer to Krishna. If that's not the goal, then we're doing something wrong. Because we want to really take shelter of the Lord. So even when we engage in maintaining our family, if we have to have a job, if we have to engage in these activities, it's always with the understanding that this is our direct service, that we see Krishna in this, and then it becomes a direct devotional service that purifies us. But even then, ultimately, we are meant to retire from material activities and take fully shelter of the Lord. And here, the main point that is made in the purport is relief from anxiety. This is what binds us to this world. Anxiety and fear. This is why people do what they do, because they want to create some sense of security. That's why they get in a relationship, that's why they want to get a job, why they want to get more wealth, why they, even we as devotees, we do what we do if we're not on a higher platform, because we want to get in a place of safety. But the only safety that we can have is Krishna. Which is why Krishna arranges usually situations in our life that make it very, very clear to us that there is nothing else apart from Krishna that we can take shelter of. Because usually we try, to take shelter, maybe in my family, maybe in a temple, by expecting that the temple is just going to take care of me. We try to take shelter in so many ways as devotees, and kamis, of course, they believe that money and wealth is a shelter, or to have a specific partner. But ultimately, Krishna has to destroy these illusions. He has to show us that it's nothing worth. It's not worth it. Don't pursue it. So if he really loves us, if he really wants us, then he's going to make arrangements that is going to shatter our illusion. And that sometimes can be a little bit painful, because we are trying to hold on to it. But if Krishna would just give us the happiest life ever, would we take shelter of him? Probably not. We would take shelter of that material happiness. Therefore, even when we come in the mode of goodness, we are not situated properly. We are situated properly in the beginning stages, but later on we have to move on, because the mode of goodness conditions us with happiness, because we believe, oh, we know how the world works, we understand things, and we get conditioned by sattva gun. But our goal is bhakti. So therefore Krishna will even make arrangements that will show us that we know very, very little, that we are very, very unqualified, and that we are basically absolutely insignificant and useless without him. This is the trick in Krishna consciousness, that we need to connect ourselves to the source of all power, the source of all knowledge, the source of all renunciation, wealth and beauty. It's Krishna. So when that connection is there, Krishna can work through us. But when we think, I'm doing this service, it's marathon, I'm out there, I'm hitting high scores, I'm going to win the marathon, I'm going to be the best. Yeah, Krishna might be very, very compassionately saying, okay, my dear devotee, I want to reciprocate with you. Okay, now I allow you to win the marathon. But then afterwards, I'm going to take this away from you again. This marathon time here, I know, not everyone, most of you probably don't go out every day right now, but this marathon is really what it is an opportunity for more surrender. And the book scores that we receive are relevant to the extent that we actually surrendered on that day on the street. And for someone that means 2 books, for someone 10, for someone 30, and for someone 100. But Krishna sees how much we are holding back, and how much we are surrendering, and how much we are praying for others, so they can be successful, so they can also distribute books, or how much we're just concerned about ourselves, our own score, our own glories. Krishna knows. Krishna sees. And therefore, this marathon is really an opportunity to pray for others. Pray for the devotees that go out, to pray for the devotees we are going out with, and to really, really see this as an opportunity to surrender and to have compassion for those who are not as fortunate as us, who are not in touch with Krishna consciousness and didn't have the opportunity yet to receive this special mercy. Because that's the only difference between us and a so-called kami. We just happen to be at the right time, at the right place. We just received some mercy. And sometimes we can become very puffed up because we've come in touch with that mercy. We think we're something special. But the only thing that is special is that we received that mercy. So we can endeavor to give that mercy to others. And that starts by actually taking care of Krishna's devotees. Krishna says in the end of Bhagavad Gita that no one is more dear to me than the one who explains this knowledge to my devotees. So what is most important for Krishna are his devotees. There's nothing more important to him. Devotees are so dear to Krishna. And if we are close to Krishna, if we are advanced in Krishna consciousness, then devotees will be very, very dear to us. So we can see how advanced we are in our Krishna consciousness by understanding how much appreciation and love we have for his devotees. That is really a test. And Krishna really wants that we take care of each other and that we are there for each other. And that is what is going to attract people into this movement. No one is going to stay here long term if they understand that no one is really taking care of us. I can see these devotees are not treated nicely. I can see these devotees are not taken care of. Why should they become part of our society? Once, there were two spiritual masters in our movement. They were having a conversation. And so basically, one of those sannyasis was asking His Holiness Sachinanda Maharaj, why do you think do devotees join our movement? And Sachinanda Maharaj, this was decades ago when he was very young, he was saying, well, I think it's because of our philosophy, right? It's our philosophy. They read a book, they become attracted to the philosophy, they become devotees. And this devotee said, no, it's actually the, culture, the ability of how much we take care of each other that is going to attract someone in our movement. It's when they come and see the society, when they see how we are treating each other. Are they seeing the spiritual world, or are they just seeing the same thing that they see outside in the kami world, just with a very fancy philosophy? The philosophy is way beyond our capacity. It's way beyond us, although we sometimes think we know so much. But this is way, way beyond us in one sense. So we have to take shelter of the basic principles. Trinada pisunishina, taro ivasahishna, amanina manadina, kirtaniya sadahari. More tolerant than a tree, like a blade of grass. This is what we need when we live in a temple. This is what we need in household life as well. We need to learn to become very tolerant and very accommodating, and not only think about ourselves first. If we do that, then we cannot make much advancement, because every hour there's probably an opportunity to get very disturbed in the temple, because this is not going the way it should, that is not going the way it should, someone forgot something, someone took my gamsha, why she's not attending her service, so many things that can be going on. And then what we're going to do? Are we going to make it into a big issue? You've taken my gamsha. Are we going to really get on the case of that devotee? Are we going to be like, okay, I think you took my gamsha. Do you think, you can give it back to me? Can we find a solution here? These are really some tests, where and these are very, very small tests, like look what happened to the devotees. Like they had to go in exile, the Pandavas. Imagine, they are personal associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what happens to them? Their entire kingdom is taken away from them. And those are kshatriyas. For a kshatriya, dishonor is worse than death. A kshatriya would rather die than lose his honor. A kshatriya, when he's on the battlefield, to die on the battlefield, that's the greatest glory for them. And for those, their kingdom, their home, everything taken away. And there was no reason for it. And what did they say? Krishna, I thought, we're so close, we're spending time together. You will allow them to take away everything from us? Look how they're treating the people in general. Did they complain? No. But sometimes we get disturbed by such small, insignificant things, we lose it. But look what the devotees are going through. Look at Srimad Bhagavatam. There's one crisis after another crisis. Gajendra, he is with his family. He just wants to take a bath. He was a little puffed up, but he was also a huge elephant in the heavenly kingdoms. He has actually reason to be puffed up. We don't have any reason, Look at us. There's not much glory to us. He was in the heavenly planets, the king, a huge elephant, and then he takes a bath and a crocodile comes and he starts to fight for life and death. Such a crisis situation. He's about to die. Bali Maharaj, he surrenders. He puts his head down. It's like, my Lord, take your third step on my head. Everything is yours. And what happens? Everything is taken away from him. His family, his kingdom, Krishna comes and takes everything. What is Bali Maharaj saying? Wait a minute. What's going on here? I just surrendered everything to you. What's going on here? I think you don't understand, what Krishna consciousness is about. No? He is very humble, surrendering. And what happens in the end? Krishna gives him so much more. He gives him, the greatest kingdom. He becomes his personal protector and gives him a highest position in the heavenly planets in the next kalpa. So, crisis after crisis after crisis. Look in Krishna's life. Actually, if you look at the astrology chart of Krishna, you will actually see, if you look at the chart, it's not like you would say, wow, it's intense if you look at the chart. Because look at Krishna's life, what happened to him. Like so many demons that are trying to kill him when he is a child. He has to leave his home situation, Vrindavan, goes to Dwarka. There's a huge war that is going on. The same with Lord Ram, Like Sita is taken away from him. He has to go in exile. So many, disturbing situations. Nityananda Prabhu, Jaga and Matai wanted to kill him, throw something at his head. So why is the Lord arranging that? He wants to show us that this world, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj is saying, is not a place for gentlemen. So that doesn't mean that we now have to be depressed and just feel like, oh yeah, this place is just suffering, just take me out, Krishna. That's also not the right consciousness. The consciousness is to take shelter and to understand that the situations in our life are the arrangement of the Lord and that we carry on. So something happens. Someone insulted us, there was a fall down, something didn't go right. We carry on. We carry on. We carry on. We carry on. And when Krishna sees how we keep going and we keep going and we keep going, then he will become so attracted. Oh my God, look at my devotee. He struggled so much, but he keeps going. He keeps putting his faith in me. And then he will shower his mercy on us. How will he shower his mercy on us? Are we going to receive 1 million euro? Or are we going to receive a very beautiful wife? Well, Krishna will appear in our heart. And when Krishna appears in our heart, there cannot be any fear. Therefore, it's said that, the pure devotees are fearless. It's because they experience Krishna in their heart. Why are such exalted devotees like Bali Maharaj not getting disturbed when everything is falling apart next to them? Because they experience Krishna in their heart. Krishna consciousness is a transformation of the heart. This studying of Bhagavatam, the service we engage in, all the activities, distributing books, whatever we do, worshiping the Lord, all of this is meant to bring us to a point where our heart becomes soft. Not sentimental, soft. Arjuna, he is the greatest warrior that the world has ever seen. He is on this huge battlefield. And he starts to cry. He breaks down in tears. In today's culture, man shouldn't cry. But Arjuna, he had such a soft heart. He was feeling concerned about, his friends, the devotees of the Lord. He had so much compassion because he had such a soft heart. So even, maybe we are a kshatriya or whatever our nature is, our heart is supposed to become very, very soft, that even if we see a material person, we start to cry. Prabhupada was driving through London one time, and then suddenly tears were flowing from his eyes. It was a sunny day in London, which doesn't happen so often, and people were enjoying themselves outside. And the devotee asked Prabhupada, why are you crying? And Prabhupada said, well, because they're so far from Krishna. There's so much in illusion. I cry for them. This is the heart of a pure devotee. Once there was a conversation Prabhupada had with another Indian gentleman, and Prabhupada was very, very sick. And he asked him, Srila Prabhupada, your disciples, they worship your murti, they worship your pictures. That means that their suffering is going to be placed on you. Usually the spiritual master shouldn't have a murti when he's still alive, because he's going to take on all the karma and suffering of his disciples. And Prabhupada was like, so what? Prabhupada was very much aware of this. He said, I'm going to suffer for them now, and I'm going to suffer for them in the future so they can go back to Godhead. Vasudev Dutt, he was praying, my Lord, let me take all the sins of this entire universe and let all those souls go back to Godhead. And he really, really meant it from the core of his heart. He was willing to go to hell, suffer the reaction of those sins, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, just so that others could benefit. This is Krishna consciousness. When we are happy for others' success, when we see others succeeding in service, that is our joy. If we read Chaitanya Charitamrita, they were always happy when other devotees made advancement, when other devotees got the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we can again see how much advancement have we made in our Krishna consciousness by understanding how much do we find happiness in our heart when someone is worshipping the Lord nicely, when someone distributes many books, when someone gives a nice class. How much are we feeling happy for that person? Or how much are we feeling disturbed and irritated? Or, I could do that better. I distributed more books yesterday. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's doing. Or are we really feeling, I'm so happy, I'm so glad that this devotee received the mercy of the Lord? That is the consciousness of the spiritual world, where everyone is each other's well-wisher, which is totally different from the material world, where everyone is just envious of each other, everyone is just trying to beat the other person down, and even kindness in this material world is just based on material comfort and my own, peace and harmony. It doesn't go very deep. But the kindness of a devotee is based on true compassion for the soul. Therefore, it's so, so special. And this culture of the spiritual world that exists in Vaikuntha, we are meant to create the same culture in our temples. That is what is going to attract people into our movement, and that is which is going to have people stay in our movement. We can distribute millions and millions of books, and we should, because Prabhupada wanted this, and it is very important. And at the same time, we have to make sure that we create the culture that is presented with so much care, so much trouble Srila Prabhupada took to write these books. So we read them and we live them and we create a culture that becomes so attractive that people, when they see this, they just want to stay and never leave again. And yes, there's so many problems, but we want to be part of the solution. Are we part of the solution, or are we just pointing out all the faults and issues that there are? That's very easy. Anyone can do that. Oh, this goes wrong, this should be done differently, Prabhupada said this, and we should do it like that. Are we understanding the principle of spiritual culture? That is the question that we have to ask ourselves. And it's not very easy. It's not very easy to do that in our life. Because our anarthas that are covering the soul, there comes anger, envy, we feel disturbed, we feel anxious, we feel so many things. But then it's about offering this to Lord Narasimhadev. And how does the Lord take away an anartha? When we feel lust, when we feel anger, when we feel envy. We have to go to the Lord and make our prayer. But very important is that we learn the lesson that is connected to that. Krishna, what am I meant to learn from this? I notice I have so much anger in my heart. What do I need to learn so you can take that anger away? Why is not Krishna making us into pure devotees immediately? He wants our love to be meaningful, and he wants us to learn lessons that we need to learn so we never ever come back to this material world. So instead of just praying, Krishna, please take away this anartha, Krishna, please do this, Krishna, please do that, we can pray, Krishna, help me to understand the lessons that I need to learn so I can move forward on my spiritual path. And again, it's not always going to be easy in spiritual life. There will be challenges. But to the extent that we actually take shelter of Krishna, we will feel Krishna's protection. We feel our relationship with Krishna, and we will be fine, because challenges are going to come anyway in life. It's not that when we become devotees, Krishna gives us extra challenges. It's anyway going to be there. So, and this is very important to understand, that any investment we make in our Krishna consciousness is eternal. Any investment we make in the material situation can be taken away at any time. So I think this is really what Bhagavatam is about. This is what this pastime is about. The culture of Grihastha ashram, the culture of how two devotees are dealing with each other. If you look at this pastime, so much care and love and devotion Kanama Muni and Devahuti have for each other. And here it's mentioned that the husband becomes indebted towards his wife, because the wife serves the husband so nicely with so much love and devotion. The husband naturally wants to reciprocate. This is again the culture of the spiritual world. We want to reciprocate with each other. We want to reciprocate and share love and share compassion and take care of each other, according to the situation and the service we have. So this is what I wanted to share. And maybe one more important point here is that Prabhupada speaks about love and duty. Again, because it's the nature of my profession, I hear every day how people fall in love with each other, but it's just like an emotional, sentimental experience. That material love is just an emotional experience that, plus a biological experience that wants you to procreate. It sounds very, maybe not so nice, but that is what it is. Real love means we're experiencing Krishna and we're sharing that with others. And the closest experience that we can find in this material world is a love that a mother has for its child. Why? Because it's totally selfless. A mother gives everything to her child. Everything. Always puts the child first, at least an ideal mother. And what does a mother get in return? Nothing. It's like, okay, maybe the child sometimes smiles back, but a child is very, not thankful task. A child takes, you have to facilitate the child, give the child so many facilities for education, for its growth, so much emotional support, and then when it's old, it just says goodbye and it's gone. Very difficult, but a mother still gives out of love, because love means very much duty. That I don't just do something for someone because I feel good about it. I do something because I understand that's what Krishna wants me to do. Sometimes there was a disciple that said, Prabhupada, I can't cry like all of your disciples. They always cry when you go, but when you go, I don't feel any tears in my eyes. But I feel very, very happy to serve you. And Prabhupada was very, very happy with him, because that is love, crying some tears, doing some this. It's nice, it's good, but really what is important is our dedication to the other person, to the other devotees. Because in the material world, someone doesn't get the same emotional experience that they had before. Okay, let me change my partner. Doesn't go the way I wanted. Next. Divorce, next marriage, divorce, next marriage, divorce, next marriage, next relationship. There's no culture of real love, because people are entirely focused on a certain emotional experience that they get in their heart. But real love means something else. Real love means I serve the other person even if I don't feel like it. I go the extra mile even if it's a little disturbing right now. That is real love. And then Krishna will appear in our heart, and then we will start to experience genuine love. So don't get me wrong, like Krishna consciousness is about developing love. And it's not going to be that we will wake up one day, Krishna Prem. Oh, now I'm a pure devotee. No, it's a gradual development. So we can understand, are we feeling more love? Are we feeling something in our heart? Or is this place cold? There's nothing going on in here. Therefore, austerities for a devotee are activities of bhakti, like chanting more, hearing more, reading more, things that bring us closer to Krishna, and not going in the forest and fasting for 3 weeks, because that will make the heart hard. And then we don't feel anymore. So that's the difference between material love and spiritual love. Spiritual love is very much as a foundation based on duty, and material love is a very sentimental and emotional concept that is very, very temporary. And this is what Prabhupada is pointing out here. So let's try to create this culture of love and devotion and compassion with each other. This is something I lack myself so much, which I'm trying to practice. But it's my duty here now to speak about this verse and about Bhagavatam. If I would only speak what I would have fully realized, then I couldn't give class, of course. We have to speak. Of course, like some realizations might be there, but we need to perform our duty. So the more we will create this culture here in Simachalam, the more people will come and stay. That's just going to be the truth. And a good sign is already that, there are quite some devotees here. In fact, as far as I know, we don't even have enough space to facilitate the devotees. And more children are born, which is an extremely positive sign for community. And some brahmacharis are here, which is also getting more and more rare in Kali Yuga. So these are very, very good signs, which, I'm very, very happy to be in your association here. And if you have any questions or comments, you can ask or say them now. Mm-hmm.
I feel that maybe you answered already, and maybe you can clarify it one more time. In the material concept of life, we enter any relationship on the basis of our selfishness. So even when we're not a pure devotee, we go to the street and distribute books. Then in the beginning, it's about me, and I want to distribute a book.
Yeah.
And whoever comes there, that's all right. But I want to give him a book, and he has to take the book.
Mm-hmm.
So all preaching activities are like that, and also our whatever else relationships we have with closer environment people, and then we are supposed to become purified and soft-hearted and compassionate and kind towards the person and interact on the basis of being beautiful. So and maybe you can speak, or you can repeat yourself, or you can highlight what is the mindset that we need in order to make that transition very nicely from I am entering a relationship with my own idea, with my own selfishness, to I'm entering that relationship, or I'm continuing that relationship for the higher cause, and how to shift that inner mind and how to and then also implement that within the relationship.
Yeah, so first of all, it's about being aware of where we are at. You cannot make any advancement in spiritual life if you don't see yourself for on the platform of where you are truly at. You cannot purify yourself if you're not aware of the anarthas that are in your heart. So first of all, it's understanding, okay, this is where I'm at, which is what you're saying now. Okay, I notice not all my motives are pure. So that's very good. That's the first step. The second step is, so how am I meant to act? Which is why we have Bhagavatam. This is how I'm meant to act. So even though we might not feel, that we are overwhelmed with compassion and love, we still act on the principle. Like even if we don't feel like it, we start acting on it. And then we will get, the experience in our heart later on. So it's about being aware of where we're at, being very honest about it, being very humble about it, going to Krishna and praying, and then at the same time acting on, the highest principle, trying to act on it. But if we're not able to live up to the highest standard, so what? We're doing our best. We do what we can and leave the rest up to Krishna. It's not that we're beating ourselves up or we, trying to push ourselves to levels that are way beyond us. We do our best, sincerely, and then we leave it up to Krishna. This is how, how we can approach such situations. And regarding relationships, yes, of course, when we decide to get married, of course, there's going to be some material attraction, which is important. Otherwise, why do we get married? If we don't have any attraction for the opposite sex, then don't get married. Then stay brahmachari or brahmacharini. But if you have attraction, that's not a bad thing, okay? So when you're in a relationship and you feel attracted towards your partner and you feel, you feel, how do they say, butterflies in your stomach. It's not like, oh no, now I have to chant this away. Don't worry, just give it some more years and you will be fine. So the point is like, we are human beings, okay? So we acknowledge where we are at and we just add Krishna to everything. That's the point. We just add Krishna. We can't follow standard. We can't, live up to the highest expectation. No problem. We just add Krishna to it. And once we add Krishna to it, we will be purified. That's the point, So we don't want to be artificially someone we are not. We try to be authentic and do our best. That's my understanding. Okay. Yes, please.
Much relation to you talked about this gradual process to develop this compassion and also the serving attitude. So what is the secret of being patient?
Secret. Patience. This is a very important word. I think this is also mentioned in the Shastra, how important patience is. That's the point. We need to find a balance between, like intense spiritual practice and at the same time doing activities that we also like to do. Okay? So let's say you hate book distribution for some reason and you have to do it every day. You're not going to last very long because you're not yet, on the stage of Nishta and beyond where it doesn't matter anymore so much. Even then you see like Kadamba Kanana Maharaj comes here and he was saying, although he's such an elevated soul that he doesn't like to be all day in management meetings, He would like to preach and chant the holy name and be on the street, be on the road and, be a traveling preacher. So we have a certain nature and that is never going to change. Like we have a certain material body with certain inclinations and that is never going to change. And that body has a certain intellectual capacity, it has certain capacity maybe for art, for doing things with your hands, there's a certain mental capacity, and that is always going to be there. It's never going to change. That means we need to engage ourselves so we can be satisfied. At the same time, we want to have room for intense spiritual practice. Especially, when we live as brahmacharis, there needs to be like intense sadhana, for all of us, but that's the opportunity. The blessing of a brahmachari is like exclusive service for the Supreme Lord. No distraction. We have this gift of exclusive service for the Lord. No other engagements. But we also need to understand where am I at, So we need to find services that inspire us and that keep us going in any situation. That is there. So that's what I can tell you from my understanding. That's the balance between the intensity of spiritual life and then at the same time activities that we like to do according to our nature. Like that. And that's for sure a challenge. I also have patience. Because it seems so long, one lifetime of going through these different stages, but compared to thousands and thousands of lifetimes that we are here in this world, it's nothing. It's really nothing. Okay, are there any other questions or comments? Good, then have a wonderful Krishna conscious day. Srila Prabhupada ki.